Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the 8th grade HeroesmartAcademy curriculum to unpack two absolutely crucial life skills, giving and following instructions. Whether you're trying to dominate your next group project or just figuring out how to explain a complex new video game to a friend, communication is pretty much everything. So we're going to break down exactly how this curriculum teaches effective leadership and teamwork through the power of clear, orderly communication.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll be covering avoiding instruction chaos, giving clear instructions, the art of listening, real-world communication, and we'll wrap up with education with morality.
Starting right off with Section 1, Avoiding Instruction Chaos. Let's see what happens when communication completely breaks down.
I want you to picture this. You're in the kitchen, you're baking something totally new, maybe a batch of chocolate chip cookies. You're rushing a bit, you misread the recipe, and suddenly you've used an entire cup of salt instead of sugar. Yikes, right? Or think about a time you had to assemble, a complicated piece of furniture, and the instructions literally just skip a crucial step. What happens? Total chaos. You're frustrated, and you might even have to scrap the whole thing and start over. Poor communication always leads to mistakes and conflict, whereas clear, respectful instructions keep everyone moving in the exact same direction.
So, to solve this, the curriculum introduces a really interesting guiding principle from 1 Corinthians 14:40. Let all things be done decently and in order. It's basically saying that clear communication is the most practical way to prevent that baking disaster or that group project meltdown. It frames this as the foundational way to ensure all the steps of our daily tasks are handled decently and in a highly logical, predictable order.
Moving on to Section 2, giving clear instructions. Let's explore how to actually be an effective sender of information.
Giving strong instructions doesn't just happen by accident. Actually, it requires a bit of planning. To help the listener's brain really process what you're saying, you need to use transition words. Think of them like traffic signals. Using words like first, next, then, and finally tells your partner exactly where they are in the process. The source recommends keeping things simple, staying in chronological order, speaking slowly, and, this is the big one, pausing to check if the person actually understands what you just said.
You can really see the stark contrast here between a vague command and a precise instruction. A vague command like, do the paper, is just going to leave an 8th grader annoyed and totally confused, like, do what paper? How? But if you give a step-by-step instruction, first open the document, then type your name at the top. After that, save it as a PDF and email it to me. It completely removes the guesswork. It sets the whole team up for an easy win.
All right, on to Section 3, the art of listening. This is all about becoming an active receiver. Following directions is just as critical as giving them, and the curriculum points out that doing it well demonstrates incredible maturity, responsibility, and self-control. Listening is absolutely not a passive activity. You are just absorbing sound waves. It involves really focusing on keywords, grabbing a pen and writing things down if the task is complex, and then repeating back what you understood to the speaker. Doing that proves you're engaged and helps catch any of those annoying misunderstandings before the work even begins. And seriously, if something sounds confusing, do not guess. Guessing is literally the fast track to making a mess of things. Instead, ask clarifying questions. Saying something like, could you repeat the second step? Or wait, do you mean the blue folder or the red one? Doesn't mean you aren't paying attention. It means you're smart enough to care about getting it right the very first time.
Which brings us to Section 4, real-world communication. Let's look at some everyday scenarios. So whether you're in the kitchen cooking or at school grinding through group work, these skills apply directly to your life. In the kitchen, confirming a detail like, so I don't add the salt until the water boils, right? Results in a perfectly cooked meal just because you followed the details correctly. In group work, clearly breaking down tasks by saying, okay, I'll write the intro and you write the middle, prevents two people from wasting their time writing the exact same paragraph. These specific everyday communication tools build trust and just keep everyone on track.
To kind of test your knowledge, the curriculum provides a set of reflection questions. Challenge yourself right now to name 3 ways to make instructions clearer, or explain why repeating instructions back is so important. You might even think about how to use those transition words we talked about to effectively organize a messy binder. If you can answer these confidently, you have officially mastered the mechanics of communication laid out in this chapter. And finally, Section 5, Education with Morality. Let's look at the underlying philosophy here. The curriculum's core philosophy is summed up in this one powerful statement: education without morality hurts. The text argues that being incredibly smart, highly educated, and even an absolute master at giving instructions is ultimately kind of useless if a person just keeps making bad, immoral choices that hurt themselves and the people around them. Being a good communicator is framed as this incredible tool, sure, but it's a tool that has to be guided by a strong moral compass to truly benefit society.
The curriculum concludes by bringing in a passage from Romans 8:6, noting that to be spiritually minded is life and peace. It suggests that communicating clearly, following directions, and treating your peers with real respect are all practical ways to live out that peace every single day. So, based on everything we've unpacked today, how will you bring this decent, orderly, and peaceful mindset into your very next group project?